When the male and female leads arrived at the orphanage to adopt a child, they immediately set their sights on me. The director, in a state of urgency, waved his hands and exclaimed, "She is not suitable." Ever since she was young, she has had a penchant for causing trouble, engaging in fights, and committing all sorts of mischief. Just last night, she frightened my 80-year-old grandmother half to death with her antics. Believing I would be overlooked for adoption, I lowered my head in disappointment. To my astonishment, the male and female leads, their eyes gleaming with determination, pointed at me and declared, "We want her." A flurry of comments floated by. "The two leads are quite astute, haha. What if their son has autism and is reclusive, shutting himself away and not speaking? They ought to adopt a wicked female antagonist. That way, life will be far from solitary and withdrawn. It might even turn into a chaotic whirlwind." Little do they know the true extent of the female antagonist's prowess. She is akin to an evil cow and a fierce king. They are inviting a whirlwind of mischief into their lives. From a tender age, I have always possessed a rather feeble sense of rules. When the male and female protagonists arrived to adopt a child, I found myself confined in a small dark room, reflecting upon my actions. My only transgression had been to water a comatose child on a hospital bed that morning. I failed to comprehend the gravity of my situation. After all, I had merely watered a plant, not scalded it with boiling water. What was there to atone for? As I curled up in a corner, slumbering, a sudden commotion erupted in the corridor outside. I recalled that today was the day the protagonists came to the orphanage to adopt a child. Indeed, a year ago, I had awakened to the consciousness of a wicked female antagonist and had gained insight into the identities of everyone in this world. For instance, the bald-headed director was merely a disposable NPC, and the couple arriving at the orphanage to adopt a child were the protagonists of this realm. They embodied gentleness, kindness, and justice, serving as the very epitome of all that is beautiful. They were also my sole opportunity to escape this dreary and tedious orphanage, which had consistently relegated me to the small dark room. After all, other NPC couples would have fled at the mere mention of my misdeeds from the past several years. Though my mental state was rather unorthodox, I yearned for a warm and loving family. Hence, regardless of the odds, I resolved to give it a try. I feigned an urgent need to use the restroom and began pounding on the door. As soon as the female teacher opened it, I darted past her. In a flurry, I finally caught up with the couple, who were about to leave in disappointment after failing to find a child with whom they resonated. Fearing they might depart, I called out from a distance, "Father, Mother." The couple abruptly halted. Sensing an opportunity, I sprinted towards them, only to be abruptly seized by the director.
"Got you,"
he exclaimed. "How did you escape? Were you not instructed to reflect in the small dark room? You've only been there for a few hours." He continued to scold me. "You shall not eat a single meal today. Prepare to sleep on an empty stomach." He droned on incessantly. I had no time to argue with him. My sole focus was on reaching the protagonists. I struggled with all my might, contemplating biting him, but feared that if the couple witnessed my behavior, they might reconsider adopting me, thinking I was a troublesome child. The director, a fitness enthusiast, possessed immense strength, and I was unable to break free. Oddly enough, I had secretly replaced his protein powder with a sugary beverage. Yet it seemed to have had no adverse effect on him. Exhausted from the struggle, I was ultimately dragged away, my spirits dampened. It appeared that my chance had slipped away. I would simply have to wait. As they had been unjust, I too would act without righteousness. Tomorrow, I would stand at the orphanage entrance, repeatedly playing their "no one like mother." 2. Just as I stumbled a few steps, a gentle voice resonated from behind. "Hello. Did you just call out to us?" The director and I turned simultaneously to find a woman clad in a flowing white dress, her eyes sparkling with warmth, smiling gently at me. Beside her stood a man in a sharp suit, his demeanor austere and commanding, unmistakably the protagonist's. I nodded fervently. "Yes, Father, Mother, it is I." The female protagonist chuckled. "Why have you suddenly changed how you address us?" She then turned to the male protagonist. "I really like her." The male protagonist's previously cold gaze softened like water as it fell upon her. "Very well, then let it be her." However, before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by a loud exclamation. "Absolutely not." The director seized my wrist and pulled me back. "She is unsuitable. You may choose any other child. You cannot possibly know. This girl has been a troublemaker since childhood, adept at instigating fights and causing havoc. Just last night, she frightened my elderly grandmother. The bald director continued, gaining momentum. This morning, she watered a comatose child. Can you believe it? What if she revives them? That would be practicing medicine without a license. As he rambled on, my heart sank further into despair. It was over. My past had been laid bare. How could such virtuous and righteous individuals accept a child so tainted with misdeeds as their own? I lowered my head in disappointment. Yet, mere seconds later, I felt a firm grip around my hand. Is that true? Everything he just said, did it really happen? It was the female protagonist, leaning down, her eyes gleaming with curiosity as she regarded me. I nodded instinctively, though I was somewhat bewildered. That's wonderful, she exclaimed, standing upright and addressing the director with determination. We will choose her. It felt as though I had been struck by a bolt of fortune. I stood frozen in disbelief. A line of text floated before my eyes. The protagonists are rather clever, haha. What if their son is diagnosed with autism and is reclusive, spending his days in silence? Why not adopt a wicked female antagonist? Your life will no longer be solitary and withdrawn, perhaps even chaotic. Little do they know, the antagonist is a force to be reckoned with, akin to a mischievous imp. What was this? Some form of commentary? Given my unique disposition, I adapted swiftly to the absurdity of the situation. Apparently, the protagonists wished to adopt a child to provide companionship for their lonely son. How simple. I excelled at keeping others company. 3. After signing the adoption agreement, the director anxiously escorted us out. Should any issues arise, you can return her at any time. No. Just a phone call, and we will come to collect her. The bald director cursed me daily. I shot him a disdainful glance, grasping my new mother's hand as we entered the car. For my new mother was exceptionally kind, and my father was indeed a father. Upon arriving home, my mother eagerly led me to the bedroom. I just had the aunt decorate it. From now on, you'll be sleeping here. I looked up to find a cozy princess room awaiting me. Snow-white walls, pink curtains, and an abundance of plush toys strewn across the bed. It was a vision I had only ever dreamed of. Thank you, Mother. I paused for a moment, attempting to mimic the smiles I had observed in others. My mother ruffled my hair. This will be your home from now on. Feel free to do as you wish. Without constraint. I'm a bit busy at the moment, but we can chat properly in the evening. Suddenly, she seemed to remember something and added apologetically. You have an older brother in the next room. He tends to be a bit reclusive. I'm worried he might feel isolated. If possible, I hope you can keep him company. I nodded, of course, Mother. Once she departed, I turned and took a wire from my pocket, resolutely opening the door to my new brother's room. I finally had a brother. Regardless of his personality, he was still my brother. In the orphanage, the director forbade other children from playing with me. Now, I finally had someone to play with. I pushed open the door, only to be met with utter darkness. There was not a glimmer of light. I fumbled my way inside, spotting a lump under the covers on the bed. I approached excitedly. Brother, do you want to play together? I nudged him, but the lump remained still. Meanwhile, white text floated across my vision. The antagonist certainly lives up to her reputation. She is remarkably efficient in entering the room. But he is autistic. If he acknowledges you, consider yourself fortunate. Do not expect a word from him. Oh, is that so? I smirked slightly, reaching out to pull back his blanket. Brother, do you want to play together? The light from the hallway illuminated an exceptionally handsome face, revealing his dark, terrified eyes in stark clarity. Brother, I am your new sister, named Lu Yu. What is your name? The boy ignored me, reaching for the blanket in my hands. I promptly tossed the blanket outside the door. The boy was left without a recourse. With a swift motion, I bent down and dove beneath the sheets. The corners of the bedding were anchored firmly, rendering them immovable. I tilted my head in contemplation for a moment before lifting one side of the sheet and crawling in. I wriggled my way over to his side, leaning in close to his ear and courteously inquired, Brother, may I ask what your name is? The comments were rife with amusement. I'm truly going to die laughing. The female antagonist is relentless. No wonder he is a mischievous brat. He lacks any sense of propriety or reason, acting on impulse, without a second thought. This brother is in for a rough time ahead. The young man seemed to have chosen to combat magic with magic. He curled up, remaining completely still. His eyes shut tight, as if he were asleep. Without hesitation, I reached out and playfully lifted his eyelids, exclaiming with delight, "Brother, you're being naughty. You're clearly not asleep." Someone who is asleep would have their eyes rolling back. "Come on, wake up and play with me." The young man remained silent. The comments noted. The comments are at a loss. Ultimately, the young man reluctantly sat up from the bed, yet he continued to ignore me, rising and striding purposefully toward the exit. Having finally found a playmate, I was not about to let him slip away easily. I promptly followed suit, calling out, "Brother, brother. Hey, can you hear me? Wow, brother, that cup on the shelf is so beautiful. I want to touch it. Oh dear. It doesn't seem very sturdy. Why does it shatter at the slightest touch?" No sooner had I spoken than the young man abruptly halted in his tracks. He turned to look at the transparent glass cup in my hand, now cracked in two, and his pupils constricted in alarm. The comments erupted. "Oh no. You're in trouble. That was your brother's favorite glass cup, a limited designer piece brought back from France by your father. Now it's a collector's item. I can't watch anymore. This female antagonist is a walking disaster, causing chaos everywhere. Why would he want to play with someone like her?" Indeed. When the young man glanced at me again, a flicker of anger crossed his beautifully dark eyes, but it was fleeting. In a heartbeat, he reverted to his placid demeanor and turned away, leaving me stunned. But I had merely touched it. Fine, I wouldn't touch anything else. In the orphanage, it was always like this. The brooms, mops, and stools in the room seemed to hold on for dear life, just to ensnare me. I would merely pick them up, and they would snap in two. The comments chimed in. "You can't entirely blame the female antagonist. After all, she is the archetypal villainess, inherently unlucky with a disastrous fate." This was undeniably true. I had always been unfortunate. Rain would invariably fall whenever I stepped outside, and I would trip over my own feet. Even in the dormitory, where I thought I would be safe from misfortune while sleeping, the roof would collapse. Yes, it had fallen in approximately 128 times in a year. The director would scold me. "Why are you tearing down the roof in the middle of the night?" I reassured myself, this time it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't happen again. If it did happen again, it wouldn't matter either. Later, I heard someone say that girls who laugh are undoubtedly lucky. Thus, every morning upon waking, I would burst into laughter. I greeted everyone with a wide smile. Although the bald director was rather unpleasant, I would force a smile to show my respect for Lady Luck. I maintained this cheerful facade for about a week until the director approached me, hesitating, and said, "Could you perhaps refrain from smiling so strangely? The cleaning lady and the security guard have both complained, saying you smile at them with ill intent." I was left speechless. Eventually, I ceased my smiling, for I discovered that my luck remained the same. My cheerful demeanor had not changed my fate. Reflecting on this, I chastised my own hand. Don't touch anything recklessly. Your luck is already poor. If you break something valuable again, it will surely anger your brother. I've finally been adopted. I mustn't be cast out. I began to cling to my brother, offering apologies. "I'm so sorry, brother. I will confess to mother and accept my punishment. Or perhaps I could spend some time in the little black room. Do we have a little black room?" The young man continued to ignore me, focused solely on moving forward. I pondered for a moment, recalling the usual tactics the bald director employed to appease his wife when he was in trouble. "Ah, yes." I immediately knelt, hugging his leg. "I'm sorry, brother. Please forgive me. I'm willing to be your servant. By the way, do you like horseback riding? How about you ride me for a couple of laps?" Upon saying this, I assumed the position. The young man's eyes widened in shock, and he frantically waved his hands. "No need." The moment those words left his mouth, everyone was taken aback. The comments reacted. "Wait, did that socially awkward boy just speak? Has he been compelled to respond by the female antagonist? Am I hearing things, or is my vision failing me? If I recall correctly, he hasn't spoken a word in nearly 3 years. Perhaps the female antagonist possesses some talent. I suddenly believe she could rouse a comatose person." Downstairs, my parents had just returned home. Did I just hear the voice of a strange child? Never mind. Let us not dwell on it. Lu Chongxing. We're back." At that moment, I was still clutching Lu Chongxing's leg, my eyes sparkling with wonder. "Wow, brother, so your name is Lu Chongxing. What a lovely name. Why didn't you say that earlier?" Lu Chongxing, haha, it sounds wonderful. Hey brother, where are you going? I want to come too. Wait for me. I followed him straight into the restroom. As Lu Chongxing turned to glance at me, his face immediately contorted in horror. Get out. Downstairs, my parents remarked. Did we just hear the voice of a strange child again? Is this some auditory hallucination? It seems we really need to visit the hospital to check our hearing this week. At the dining table, Lu Chongxing huddled in the corner, keeping his distance from me and my parents as he silently picked at his bowl of rice. My parents appeared accustomed to this behavior, letting out a resigned sigh as they allowed him to be. I tilted my head, contemplating, before decisively rising and plopping down next to him. The young man paused in his eating, his hand holding the chopsticks faltering for an instant before he resumed his pretense of nonchalance. Brother, why are you only eating plain rice? That's not nutritious. I deftly added a piece of sea cucumber to his bowl. You need some meat to grow strong. Lu Chongxing frowned slightly, about to wave his hand in refusal. I quickly added, it's also good for your kidneys, so you won't feel weak anymore. Lu Chongxing remained silent. Thus, he quietly accepted the food I offered. I placed a piece of beef in front of him. This will help you grow taller. He shook his head. I smiled and said, brother, you're only half a head taller than me. Even the girl in the dorm next to me, Suehua, who is only 10, is almost your height. Lu Chongxing chose not to respond, merely continuing to eat the beef with his head bowed. I then offered him a piece of celery. This is good for your complexion. Your skin seems a bit rough. He began to take the celery. The comments, along with the leads, were astonished. Is this picky eater and reluctant diner being cured? My parents grasped my hands, tears welling in their eyes. You're our lucky star. Yet I lowered my long lashes. But today I committed a grievous error. I deserve to be punished severely. The comments chimed in. Female antagonist, please read less, we beg you. My parents wiped the sweat from their foreheads. How about you share with us what you think? I whispered. I accidentally broke my brother's most treasured cup. But don't worry, I can go to the little black room by myself and skip meals tomorrow. Raising my head, I asked, is this forgivable? My mother was momentarily taken aback, but it was evident that she quickly grasped the situation. She immediately reached out and enveloped me in her arms. My father also set down his chopsticks and gently ruffled my hair. Oh dear, how we have made our little fish suffer. But now that you are in our home, we shall ensure you never endure any more grievances. It's all right. It's just a trivial matter, no need for concern, I replied. Wait a moment. Are you referring to the orchid cup on the hallway counter? I nodded. My mother tightened her embrace a fraction more. That wasn't your fault. It was Aunt Zhang who knocked it over while sweeping. She had informed me, and I thought to place it there temporarily, intending to buy a replacement later, so I didn't mention it to you. I'm sorry, little fish. You shouldn't have been wronged. Yet, I felt as though I was frozen in place, my body rigid and immovable. For in all my years, no one had ever held me so tightly, nor had anyone acknowledged their misunderstanding and sincerely apologized. It dawned upon me that the cup had indeed been broken before. It was not a consequence of my misfortune nor because I was the wicked supporting character. I realized that even being wrongly accused could yield a heartfelt apology and a comforting embrace. Gradually regaining my composure, I hesitantly raised my arms and returned my mother's embrace, saying, "It's all right, mother." How warm this embrace felt, as if I were being held by my true mother. Soon after, my parents finished their meal and ascended to their work upstairs, leaving only Lu Chongxing and me at the dining table. My mouth was fatigued from talking, and I prepared to bury my face in my food. Suddenly, a hand reached over and placed a piece of sweet and sour pork into my bowl. I looked up in shock, only to see that slender, fair arm quickly retract. Lu Chongxing was gazing downward, his hand trembling as he picked up a grain of rice with his chopsticks and put it into his mouth, as if nothing had just transpired. My eyes lit up with excitement, and I immediately lunged forward to grasp his arm. "Brother, how did you know I love this?" "Wait. Why did you suddenly serve me food?" "Oh, I see. It must be because you thought I broke the cup, so you're giving me food as an apology, right? It's all right. I forgive you, haha. You're really great. Having a brother is like possessing a treasure." I playfully rubbed my cheek against his shoulder, exclaiming, "Brother, you smell so good." Startled, Lu Chongxing pushed me away with all his might. After dinner, Lu Chongxing retreated into his room once more. I grasped his hand and urged, "Brother, come play with me." The young man gently shook his head and attempted to ascend the stairs. I couldn't comprehend why he preferred that dark, confining room. It was pitch black and suffocating. Nothing could be seen, and my mind would inevitably spiral into anxious thoughts, wondering if something monstrous lurked in the shadows, staring at me. The night would invariably end in nightmares. Loneliness can be suffocating. How delightful it would be to play together. Disappointed, I lowered my head and sighed. It's such a pity. I spent the first half of my life in an orphanage, never having visited an amusement park. My parents are always so busy. I suppose this is how my life will be. I envy the other children who can go to amusement parks. Amusement parks, sigh. I've only read about them in books. But it's all right. It's merely a small regret. Although I longed so much for a visit with my family. I have so many regrets, so many hopes, do you know? Don't interrupt me. I shall begin to brood from today onward. Let the brooding commence. The comments flooded in rapidly. Supporting character. If you heed her words, you'll have this for life. The male and female leads are planning to take them out this weekend. Hey, big brother. Why are you buying tickets on your phone? You're usually not this brave, truly the offspring of the leads, so kind and pure. Big brother, have you forgotten your past half-life? You almost got led astray by this old supporting character. Did you forget you went out alone before? Just go to the amusement park. Forget it. The power of the supporting character is beyond our comprehension. Seeing Lu Chongxing purchasing tickets on his phone, I nearly leapt up in excitement. Really? Is it true, brother? Actually, it's fine if we don't go. I can endure. Haha, no need for that, brother. Finally, unable to contain my excitement, I jumped up and planted a big kiss on Lu Chongxing's face. Brother, I love you. The young man instantly froze in place. His curled lashes trembled, and the tips of his fair ears turned a rosy hue. The corners of his mouth could not help but lift in a slight smile. The comments erupted. Has this kid reached bliss? Having been kissed by his sweet and soft little sister, he probably won't wash his face tonight, right? Did you not notice? He actually smiled. The young master has smiled for the first time in years. It makes sense, due to his autism. The classmates never included him, deeming him a mute. He spent his days lost in thought, burying himself in studies. And even rumors of autism causing violent behavior only deterred others from associating with him. During PE class, while everyone played table tennis and badminton, he stood alone, watching forlornly. He even tried to interact with others, bringing a large box of imported ice cream for the class, only to be met with silence. The ice cream melted away while he quietly cleaned up and returned home, tears streaming down his face. Since then, he has never sought companionship, isolating himself in his room. Look, it's been days since winter break began, and all he has done is study and sleep. Thankfully, the supporting character doesn't despise him and seeks his company. In truth, Lu Chongxing likely enjoys the companionship. Perhaps he is merely a bit afraid, fearing that the supporting character will find him dull and uninteresting and thus reject him. The feeling of being rejected is unbearable. Indeed. He probably wishes to visit the amusement park too. He was considerate of his busy parents and never mentioned it, fearing his silence and lack of smiles would burden them. I was too busy rushing into the house to gather my belongings to notice the lively comments. Brother, should we wear a hat? I think a scarf would be nice too. Oh, these gloves look great. Before long, the two of us stepped outside, bundled up like little balls. I worried that my brother would feel uncomfortable around others, so I fashioned him a face mask. However, he adamantly refused to wear it. TSK. He has no taste. This black mask is quite fashionable. He won't wear it, so I shall. Yet, as soon as I donned it, he instinctively distanced himself by 8 meters, pretending not to know me. Fine, I suppose we can part ways for a while, my adorable little mask. I had a splendid time. My brother seemed to enjoy himself as well, albeit he fainted 3 times on the roller coaster. I wanted to ride again, but he resolutely refused. I patted his shoulder with a hint of disappointment. All right, brother, you stay here and wait for me patiently. I'll be back shortly. Lu Chongxing, still trembling from the ride, could only support himself on the chair, nodding weakly. Once I left, he glanced down to find my garment, which I had removed due to the heat, nestled in his arms. On his shoulder hung the small cow-patterned bag that resembled me precisely. A faint smile crept upon Lu Chongxing's lips. He cradled the little calf in his arms, gently nuzzling his head against it. Suddenly, 2 pairs of dingy gray sneakers appeared before him. As he descended, still savoring the moment, the barrage of comments erupted. Female antagonist, go check on your brother. He being bullied. Those 2 brats from his class are stealing his things. What? Damn it. Which blind fool dared to perpetrate such misdeeds upon my brother? I must deal with them. Wait a moment. No, that won't do. I can't behave as I did in the orphanage. Fighting is absolutely out of the question. I lack the discernment to know when to hold back. The last time I got into a fight, I ended up sending that child to the hospital. And the headmaster confined me in a dark room for 3 days and nights, providing only a single egg and some dried fruit each day. By the time I was released, I was on the verge of fainting from hunger. After finally being adopted and having pretended to be a good child for so long, if I were to send someone to the hospital again, would I be returned? My mother is so gentle, my father so fatherly, and my brother so adorable. No. Then I shall resort to verbal reprimands. A dignified insult will suffice. I cannot allow my brother to be bullied in vain. Fueled by indignation, I rushed back. From a distance, I spotted a tall, skinny brat wresting something from my brother's grasp. My brother stumbled and fell as he was pulled. Just as he braced himself to rise, a nearby chubby little boy kicked him hard. My rationality vanished in an instant. I charged forward, leaping to deliver a kick to that rotund bully. Caught off guard, the gluttonous brat fell to the ground with a thud. First blood. I swiftly turned and pounced on the skinny boy, sinking my teeth into him. Double kill. A gaggle of amateurs. No matter how he cried and flailed, I would not release my grip. It wasn't until Lu Chongxing and some passers-by intervened that I was pulled away. In a frenzy, I still wanted to charge back. But Lu Chongxing firmly held me in his embrace, gently patting my back to soothe me. It's all right, Xiaoyu. Your brother is here. I took several quick breaths in his arms before gradually regaining my composure. Brother, are you all right? The barrage of comments was in utter disbelief. Female antagonist. You didn't mention that fighting was like this. So fierce, a 1v2, and still victorious. Big brother, little brother worship you. 12. On our way home, for the first time, my brother took my hand, holding it tightly. Yet, I was too preoccupied to revel in the moment. Carefully, I broached the subject. Could you not tell Mom and Dad about what I did today? I don't want them to think of me as a bad child. If they find out I bit someone to the hospital, I would be sent back to the orphanage, forgotten and alone. I left that sentence unfinished, trembling all over. However, if given the chance to choose again, I would have no regrets. In the next moment, I was embraced. Don't worry, Xiaoyu. I will never let you return to the orphanage. As long as I'm here. The embrace was warm, infused with that unique citrus scent of my brother, stirring something bittersweet within me. And this, he said, placing a toy in my arms. He looked down at me with a gentle smile. I glanced down and was instantly taken aback. It was a little beagle plush. Just because I had lingered near the claw machine. My brother had squatted there for 2 hours to help me win it. I was utterly enamored upon receiving it. So that's what those 2 brats were after. Overcome with emotion, I wrapped my arms around my brother's head. Oh, brother, have you finally acknowledged me as your family, your dear sister? I love you so much. 13. Ultimately, Mom and Dad learned about the incident. They first visited the 2 children who had been disciplined at the hospital and hurried home afterwards. Upon entering, I noticed an unprecedented seriousness on my mother's face, her brow slightly furrowed. Can you explain what happened? She inquired. I hung my head, silent, my hands anxiously fidgeting. The healing scars, almost fully healed, began to bleed anew under my anxious touch. Is it possible? Xiaoyu, Chongxing? She pressed again. I could not suppress a shiver. Just then, a warm hand gently grasped mine. It was my brother. He looked up at my mother with determination. It's all my fault. It has nothing to do with Xiaoyu. My mother turned sharply to him. Dad echoed. They both exclaimed in unison. When did you learn to speak? Tears welled in my mother's eyes as she buried her face in Dad's embrace. I knew it. I knew our Xiaoyu is a blessing. Sob, sob, sob. Our son is all right. Sob, sob, sob. My brother? Both of us were left in a state of bewilderment. What was happening? Wasn't he supposed to be an accountability meeting? How did it turn into a grand family reunion? After my mother cried for a while, she wiped her tears and stood up, Actually, Mom and Dad have already checked the surveillance at the amusement park and educated those two little brats at the hospital. And they LL come to apologize to you both soon. While I appreciate Xiao Yu's help to her brother, I am still very upset. Xiao Yu, what were you thinking at that moment? Why would you disregard your own safety? You charged in from such a distance to kick someone. While it was indeed cool, what if that person dodged and you fell? That would hurt a lot. And your quick turnaround to bite, though clever, what if that person was tough-skinned and you lost a tooth? Thus, we conclude that it's all your brother's fault. Lu Chongxing? My mother cleared her throat and continued. It's all his fault for being so helpless and relying on his little sister to save him, nearly causing her injury. So, tomorrow, whether he agrees or not, he is going to learn Muay Thai. Lu Chongxing raised his hand. Mom, I agree. My mother shot him a glare. No interrupting. She then held my hand. I'm sorry, Xiao Yu. I frightened you earlier. I was just so angry. Next time you find yourself in a similar situation, seek help from an adult nearby. Or call my phone, and I'll have your dad send a helicopter to the scene. Do not put yourself in harm's way again. Mom would be heartbroken. With that, she looked down. How did you get hurt here?
Who was it?
Iodine. Iodine. Dad approached with a bottle of iodine and cotton swabs. Mom immediately took it, opened it, and gently applied the medicine to my finger. For the next few days, try not to use your hands. Let your brother feed you.
Mom.
I don't show. Mom placed her finger on my lips. Be good, listen. 14. At the dining table, Mom handed soy milk to Lu Chongxing, unable to suppress her frown. Today is the first day of school together. Why are you sulking so early in the morning? Your sister is here. Won't she be happy to see you like this? The barrage of comments urged. Ha ha ha. Mom, doesn't he know, but the instigator is actually the sister. I'm truly amazed by this wicked female antagonist, changing his morning alarm to her recorded voice. Just think, if the sister were to record it, she would sweetly call brother. It's time to get up. Goodness, this female antagonist is akin to a dinosaur. One might mistake it for Li Kuei yelling at Song Jiang. After finishing the meal, Uncle Zhang took both Lu Chongxing and me to school. During my time at the orphanage, I had autonomously studied a great deal, allowing me to keep pace with the curriculum of the second year of junior high school. Consequently, my parents enrolled me in my brother's class. Upon entering the classroom, my eyes sparkled with excitement. How wonderful it was to have so many new companions. Attending school became exceedingly enjoyable. Naturally, it would have been even better if there were no need for studying. That very day, I was summoned to meet with my parents for sharing jokes with my desk mate during 8 consecutive classes. My mother found herself in a dilemma, saying, "This is simply a child's nature. Being lively and cheerful is endearing. Oh, dear mother, if I become any more charming, I might end up sitting beside the teacher." Thus, my brother gallantly volunteered to sit next to me. Really? Just yesterday, you complained about my noise. My mother shot him a warning glance. Lu Chongxing, in a state of panic, quickly waved his hands. I did not. I chuckled. Haha, you must have misremembered. Lu Chongxing remained speechless. Because of my penchant for conversation, I had many amusing anecdotes from the orphanage. Everyone adored me, and during recess, I would often gather friends around. However, I soon noticed something amiss. Why was no one seeking my brother to play? Regardless of how lively the class was, he seemed to exist in a different realm, lonely and silent, as if he were an outcast. This simply would not do. I thumped the table and declared to a few close friends, "Next time we visit the snack shop or play sports, you must bring my brother along. Otherwise, I shall find someone else to play with." Lu Chongxing appeared so embarrassed he could have shrunk into the table. I patted his back. "Brother, am I not loyal?" After a lengthy pause, he timidly gave me a thumbs up. I laughed heartily. Initially, everyone felt quite uneasy about Lu Chongxing's inclusion. Some even whispered behind his back, "Why bring this mute?" However, when I pointedly reprimanded them, they gradually fell silent. Later, as classmates witnessed Lu Chongxing's impressive skills in badminton, they began clamoring to team up with him. Eventually, they discovered that he could indeed speak and had a pleasant voice, prompting them to approach him with questions. Lu Chongxing patiently explained everything, leading his classmates to realize they had previously underestimated him. He became a rising star within the class. Apologies were awkwardly exchanged, and snacks were occasionally offered to him. Lu Chongxing would always share his treats with me. The group soon understood, and during subsequent snack purchases, They began to buy extra portions. Life in our class became quite vibrant. However, one fateful evening, as we returned home from school, the house was eerily empty. My brother and I exchanged puzzled glances. After all, our parents typically returned home for dinner, even when busy, and would inform us if they were away on a trip. What could be the matter? Just then, Aunt Zhang rushed in, exclaiming, "Oh dear, I forgot to mention, Madam was in a car accident today, and your father is with her at the hospital." My brother and I entered the hospital in tears, only to be further overwhelmed as we were led into the ward. The onlookers regarded us with curiosity as we sobbed like boiling kettles. It was only upon entering the room that we heard our mother's furious shout, "Both of you, shut up." We stopped our tears, bleary-eyed, gazing at the figure lying in the hospital bed. Her upper body appeared unscathed, but her right leg was suspended high. Instantly, my brother and I rushed to her, wailing louder than before. Our mother could no longer bear it. "Stop crying. This idiot thinks I'm dead." Before long, my brother and I fell asleep, lying on either side of our mother, inadvertently pinning her down. My father remarked, "Are you here to visit the patient, or to be a nuisance?" Initially, I thought little of it. However, just a few days later, my father suddenly collapsed at work. A hospital examination revealed brain cancer. Fortunately, it was early stage and benign, requiring only surgery. Yet, undergoing a craniotomy felt akin to flirting with death. Although my father emerged from the operating room safely, he was significantly weakened. Within a month, my brother was injured by a falling stone from above. Everyone assumed these incidents were mere coincidences, but I was aware of the truth. I had seen the comments. The male and female leads should not have adopted a wicked female antagonist. How could so much misfortune occur in such a short time? Indeed, it must be the evil female antagonist's bad luck afflicting the family of the male and female leads. There were also rebuttals. Nonsense. The female antagonist got burned yesterday, and the day before, she was drenched at school. It's merely coincidence. Besides, before her arrival, the male and female leads and their son had never encountered such misfortune. Must everything be blamed on another? Exactly. I recall that a year ago, the male and female leads and their son faced consecutive car accidents. This doesn't seem to be the fault of the female antagonist, but merely bad luck. True. And since the female antagonist's arrival, the household has been filled with laughter, though it has also become quite chaotic. She even helped my brother, who has autism, gradually heal. Mother has also found solace. Yet, I found it impossible to focus on the rebuttals, for I felt that my presence had indeed brought misfortune to this family. What sort of coincidence could lead to the three of them facing simultaneous troubles? The wicked female antagonist truly bore no resemblance to a happy, warm family. My parents and brother were so wonderful. They did not deserve this suffering. If I were to leave, would their lives be significantly improved? Would they even retain their lives if I stayed?
No.
Absolutely not. That night, while my brother slumbered, I left a note. "I'm sorry. It's all my bad luck that has brought you such misfortune. But I truly, truly love you. Goodbye. Well, let us just say I want to see you again. I hope you have good fortune." I then packed a small bag and took a taxi back to the orphanage, selfishly clutching a little beagle plush toy as a final token of my affection. Skillfully scaling the wall to re-enter the orphanage, I unexpectedly encountered the director as he emerged to use the restroom. He stared at me in disbelief, rubbing his eyes multiple times. Maintaining my composure, I walked past him. "Yes, you are not mistaken. Your dear niece has returned." The director exclaimed in shock. "Wait. You were sent back in the middle of the night. Hold on. Why do you have such a small bag? Did your family give you nothing? You weren't even allowed to take your clothes?" I knew it. It hasn't been long at all. "Sigh, I doubt anyone will want you now. You might as well stay quietly in the orphanage." I ignored him, determinedly making my way to my familiar little black room. Yet, as I walked, an overwhelming urge to rush back home and bury myself in my parents' and brother's warm embrace surged within me. My heart ached, and tears began to fall. I disregarded it and continued forward, only to hear the director exclaim, "Wait, are you crying? Really? Is it true?" Instinctively, I touched the corner of my eye, finding it damp. Ah, I truly was crying. The director continued to shout, "Since you arrived here, I've never seen you cry. My goodness. What have you endured to return like this? Who has made our little tyrant cry? Did they hurt you? How could this seemingly honest and wealthy couple do such a thing? Tomorrow I will confront them. I sobbed and blocked his path. No. The director was completely flustered. Frantically searching for a tissue to wipe my tears, I exclaimed, "Oh dear, please don't cry. I admit my fault. Isn't that enough? If you've been wronged, share it with me. Tomorrow, I shall seek out Aunt Lu and Uncle Wong to demand justice on your behalf, perhaps even storm their company with banners to berate them. How does that sound? Please stop crying, my little darling." By 19, I had wept until dawn. I had barely drifted into slumber when a commotion outside stirred me awake, accompanied by the director's booming voice. "Leave. You are not welcome here.
Get out.
You've made our little tyrant cry. Do you even know who she is? She is our precious little gem, whom we cannot bear to see in tears." Afraid to hear more vile words, I hastily emerged from my room, barefoot. It was my parents and brother. They had come to find me. How deeply they must care for me. Yet, I hesitated, slowly pausing my steps and peeking out from the door. Indeed, it was them, engaged in a heated argument with the director, yet they seemed oblivious to my brother's absence. Was he not here? That made sense. It was Wednesday, after all, and he had classes. Just as I felt my spirit sink, a familiar, breathless voice called out, "Lu Yu." I jolted at the sound. It was my brother. But how had he found me? I turned around and, as expected, saw Lu Chongxing standing a short distance away, drenched in sweat, his clothes caked in dirt, and looking utterly exhausted. "Come here, Lu Yu," he commanded, his voice wavering, as if he were suppressing a burgeoning fury. "Don't make me ask you twice." Oh dear, he seemed angry. My brother looked so handsome when he was upset. However, this was not the time for admiration. I slowly began to retreat. "Brother, I won't return with you. Please go." Then I turned and ran. Yet, after only a few steps, I was seized in a tight embrace. "Got you." My brother's deep voice resonated beside me. "Let's go home. Stop this nonsense." I struggled. "What nonsense? Haven't I told you? I only bring misfortune." Why do you still come looking for me? You should never have adopted me. I am a harbinger of disaster." Yet he held me even tighter. "Little Yu, you are not. You are not a disaster. You are our lucky star, our family's blessing." At some point, my parents had also arrived, followed closely by the flustered director, who attempted to intervene but was met with a single, fearsome glance from my father that sent him retreating. "Little Yu," my mother knelt down, gently ruffling my hair. "You are our daughter and the sister of Chongxing. That will never change. We will never abandon you. Moreover, the recent troubles have nothing to do with you. Do not blame yourself. We faced similar situations before, and you were not even here at that time, correct?" Perhaps it was the tenderness and conviction in my mother's voice that made my tears flow uncontrollably. The director muttered, "For heaven's sake, are you all playing with me?" Perhaps, as they claimed, the days that followed were devoid of misfortune. Each day passed in a tranquil, happy manner. I felt as though I was no longer the wicked female antagonist, but rather an ordinary child cherished by my parents and loved by my brother.
The end.
Thank you for listening. Until we meet again with another story,